They're trying to capture that for posterity. And you know what? We're all trying to save this for posterity as well. That's really where a large part of the conversation on sustainability in the automobile industry also centers around. And when you look at views like this, you kind of feel good about driving an electric car. Yes, today I have an electric car to share with you. It's a special one. It's one that there's a fair amount of anticipation around, and it's one that kind of goes with the theme of water. Yes, the car in question is one of the hottest models around the world. Looking at it, you may wonder why, but the BYD Seal is in a sweet spot. It is part of the ocean-inspired range from BYD. It is sporty, it is electric, and it is bigger than you think. Now, you look at it, first glance you think Tesla Model 3, and you know what, its size, you might think it's a really compact car, but it's actually as long as about like a Camry, and just the wheelbase almost as generous as an Ioniq 5, so it's pretty ample. 400-liter boot as well makes this car a pretty compelling sort of a family car and also kind of sporty as a sedan. Oh yeah, in case you're wondering, there is a frunk with 53 liters of additional storage. In the face is where you see the Ocean Series design language from BYD. Start getting used to things like that, because that is the signature LED, almost like a DRL that's in the bumper, even though there is another positioning light that's part of this cluster. Huge BYD alphabets, the logo up here in the front. And like I said, overall, it's a slightly underwhelming design as compared to what you've seen with other BYDs like the Atto 3, which is almost screaming in your face. The BYD Seal is a car with a low-slung silhouette. It is the second model from BYD's Ocean series and uses the company's E-Platform 3.0. Now that is the same one that houses the Atto 3, which we got in 2022. Now there are some nice design details that people will like. The all-glass panoramic roof for starters. Then of course the retracting door handles with a little BYD logo there. Very smart energy-saving wheels. Very, very sexy tail light cluster. And then there's this badge. Now that really got my attention. BYD Seal, no problem there, but 3.8S. What do you think that means? Well, I'll tell you what, in many cars, in the ICE era, you always had things like 4.2 V8, you know, those kind of bragging rights at the back of the car. In this case, the all-wheel drive has this as the 0 to 100 bragging right. That's pretty cool to see that as a badge on an electric car. So does it feel as fast as it is then? Now when you make a car that's got to go up against everything from a Model 3 to even maybe a Taycan in some ways, it has to be fairly sporty. Yes, I know I'm overstating, but that's because of the way the face looks. Alright, not to be distracted. It is actually pretty sporty. It handles really well. It's got a really nice, fairly stiff suspension, and the steering's pretty on point too. Doesn't have that sort of sluggish feeling that you sometimes get with electric cars. All of that, I think, is a thing of the past. The other nice thing about it is that besides the three drive modes, where you obviously have Eco, Normal and Sport, where the car's behavior does change, you of course can go much faster in Sport, 0 to 100, 3.8 seconds. But besides that, you can also go in and manipulate the steering assist mode, where you can go from a comfort feel to a sport feel, a little stiffer. I've got it set on sport. And then you've got the brake assist mode as well, where again you can go from comfort to sport. So the idea is that not only can you manipulate the three drive modes for the basic differences, you can make it a little bit sportier, which is great. Yeah, so it may have quick acceleration, but what about the rest of the dynamics, you ask? I already told you the suspension feels stiff, and now I can tell you it also goes around corners quite well. The car's battery is fused into its body construction, which helps with center of gravity and rigidity. Now the Seal is built on BYD's dedicated battery electric vehicle platform, and so you can have different battery sizes on this car model. But here in Europe, you have two versions, both have the same battery pack. It's a nice, ample, big battery, lots of capacity and very good claimed range. Two versions, one's all-wheel drive and one is rear-wheel drive. So very powerful on that all-wheel drive, without a doubt. The part I want to talk about though is the battery management. It's pretty cool. This car has a nice feature. Now, typically all electrics will tell you in the instruments what percentage of the battery is still remaining and how far you can go. So I see 69%, 358 kilometers. Not bad. But that's pretty much like what its claimed range is. Car has a feature. I go into car settings, go to new energy, and then energy manager. Now, regenerative braking, I always like to set that on high, so that instantly will kind of give me more efficient running. But it also has something called range display mode. It's on standard right now. I'm going to put it on dynamic. What it does with that, it monitors GPS data, it monitors your own driving style, it monitors road conditions ahead and traffic. And based on all of that, it will give you a more realistic actual range on the car. So it's dropped now to 324. That allows you to drive a little more frugally, a little more sensibly, maybe differently, or to make a choice whether you want to stop to charge the car on the road. That's nice, it's different, I like it.
That feature is cool and more real world like. Something battery electrics should really all have, I think. But hey, you could also dismiss this as a gimmick. Because really, why have that on-paper figure in the first place, right? The BYD Blade battery has tighter packed cells, it makes charging quicker, and the battery overall safer with better thermal management, says BYD. Now that battery can go from a 30% charge to 80% in just 26 minutes using only a 150 kilowatt DC charger. An overnight charge with an 11 kilowatt AC charger is also possible, of course. BYD India has also launched the lower spec battery variant, which gives you a little bit of a lesser range, but also allows the price point to drop for the entry version.
There are different models, different variants of the Seal, depending on the market you're in. I'm driving the European spec, so I'm going to stick to this one for now, because we don't have all the details as yet on the India spec. What I can tell you is that this car has a very ample sized battery. The little ding you just heard was me, and there's another one, was me changing lanes. It's got a lot of audible sounds, this one. It takes some getting used to. It is distracting at the start, but it takes some getting used to. And once you do get used to it, it's actually pretty helpful.
Yes, the car is loaded with tech that is made very obvious to the driver or user. Besides those sounds, there's also ADAS, but I'll come to that. The graphics are awesome and you can customize your wallpaper and lots more. There is connectivity and telematics that's loaded in too. The screen and virtual cluster setup are standard on the Seal. The Seal also gets the rotating screen that we've seen before from BYD. Its operation is very slick, though you have to look at the screen to hit the tilt function. Now, I use Apple CarPlay, and while that is not wireless on this car, I was told that's coming. And yeah, it does stay in portrait mode when you use Android Auto or CarPlay. Bummer. The sport seats have ventilation and heating up front, and there are 2 wireless chargers for your phones.
Now the car has a whole lot of ADAS functionality, and it's pretty much everything that you can expect that you're used to. It's pretty much loaded as standard on the Seal. Besides that, I want to talk about something very interesting called ITAC, Intelligent Torque Adaptation Control. Let me tell you what that means.
BYD says this helps distribute torque to each wheel depending on the condition. Now, this is kind of like torque vectoring, but it also uses torque reduction that's specifically sent to a wheel too. This prevents the car from skidding and also lets it come out of a slide or corner more safely. The BYD Seal is capable, it is well designed, and it is smartly built. Prices, as I had predicted, are around the 50 lakh rupee mark. BYD wants to be competitive against the likes of the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6. Anything more would have made this a luxury car, which is something it is not, all that technology notwithstanding. So, it is a great addition to the Indian market, especially to the EV set, and I mean outside the luxury grouping.